This is the all-new Porsche 911 GT3, which will, by the time you see this video, most likely be sold out for a year. Because that's how the GT3 works, right? It's the distilled essence of what people love about Porsche. That is to say, racing technology and vibes on the street. And therefore, it's the most important sports car they sell, and therefore, it's the hardest one to get. Now, pretty much every .2 has been a subtle but significant improvement over the .1. All the way back to the 997 era, the .2 brought notable upgrades over the early cars, a new engine, far less likely to explode, and the PDK gearbox. In the 991 generation, the .2 brought a wave of turbocharging to the Carrera line and a whole new engine to the GT3. Now the 992.2 has already sent us a hybridized GTS range, a new Carrera T, and now the updated GT3. Which is why I am in Spain again for the 5th time in 12 months. Porsche has dropped not just one, but 2 new GT3s on us. We've got the Touring, which I'll be driving on the road, and the Wing car with Weissach pack, which we'll be driving at the track. We start out here on the road with the GT3 Touring. Like the Wing car, it's got a new front and rear fascia. Part of this is for airflow and aerodynamics, and part is for aesthetics, and part of it is so that you know you're looking at a .2 when you see one. My hope is that a bit of that ST perfection has trickled down. If I'm being totally honest, this video isn't for everyone. After all, everyone can't just get a GT3. These things are tough to come by. So who is this video for? Honestly, people who've already got the old one and want to know if they should be trading up. So let's get to that. Well, they haven't ruined it. Still goes to 9. First up, GT3 Touring on the road. Immediately, I settle into the new bucket seats, which now fold. So if you get the new optional back seat in the Touring, you can put people there. If you don't, like this one does not have a back seat, then you can fit things back there. Mwah! Brilliant! And they are comfortable. Then there's the updates that all the cars get. New suspension bits, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the track, that come from the RS and the ST. I'm almost 100% positive that this car has the ST shock tuning, because the ride, even on these Spanish roads, is exceptional. Woo! Oh yes. The gear ratios, 8% shorter across the board, manual and PDK. And that is really to offset the fact that the engine makes less torque than before, right? 502 horsepower and 331 torque. It's down a little bit, and that's because of emissions. Additionally, this one has the all-new Lichtbau package, the lightweighting package available for GT3 Touring. You've got your carbon fiber body-colored roof, you've got buckets, lightweight door cards, lightweight suspension bits, the carbon fiber sway bar from the RS, and magnesium wheels, and the ST's short throw shifter. It's a lot, you guys. It's a bunch. This Touring lightweight, that's going to be my prediction, the one to have. You've also got, of course, the Weissach pack for the Wing car, and we will talk about that on the track. Last night I was talking to Andy Preuninger, and we agreed that after you drive the 911 ST, everything else kind of sucks. And so they tried to make the new GT3 Touring as close to the ST as they reasonably could. And I think they've succeeded. This car feels about halfway back to the ST. It's a little more settled and stable on the highway. The ride is softer. It's good, guys. It's very good. Porsche has also recalibrated the steering across the whole GT3 line, but the idea is it automatically compensates for various frictions in the steering. Frictions can be different manufacturing tolerances. It can be the age and wear on the car, and it could be the temperature, the ambient or the car's temperature, all of which can affect the friction and the feel of the steering. They have developed software that automatically adjusts for that, keeping the steering more consistent throughout not just the day or the road or the drive, but the life of the car. The steering feels precise, but also very lightweight. In fact, everything feels very lightweight. The car feels lightweight. The clutch feels lightweight. The fact that the seat holds me in and I just have to use my fingers to steer, that is all light. The 8% shorter final drive, it affects all the gears, right? It affects your fuel economy. It affects where this thing revs. Highway speeds, at 80 miles an hour, this thing is turning almost 4,000 RPM. So on highway speeds, it does rev higher. It is a bit less relaxed. You are going to get a little bit worse fuel economy. But from an emissions standpoint, the emissions of this engine are significantly better while making the same power and while improving performance. Whoa! Man, is this thing rad. I know why people pay a lot of money for this car. It is a delight. One of the things I really love about this car, especially the manual gearbox equipped Touring, is it really does continue to emphasize feel and fizz and engagement over outright speed. Unless you really, really rev it, it's not that fast. It's not faster than you can think. It's not scary fast. It's fizz fast, and then it stops there. And I love that. Truly as quick as I would ever realistically need to go in a car ever. And with the shorter final drive, a lot of times, like this tight hairpin here, I could leave it in third. Well, they say you can leave it in third, but it bogs a little bit. You probably still want to hit second. Okay, I do have some bad news. Like a lot of other European cars, this car has that mandated ADAS stuff. Okay, so every time you start the car, the ADAS is full on. Porsche has done the best they can by having one hot button, a real physical button on the dash to disable all the ADAS quickly and effectively. So within the rules, good for them. God, I love the shifter. The clutch is very light and also very linear. I'll leave you with this about the Touring. If you liked the last one, you will like this one. If you didn't like the last one for reasons that I had, meaning the suspension was too stiff, it was a little too darty, they have fixed that. You will like this one. If you wanted a GT3 with a back seat, now you can get it. You can have your kids with you. They have not messed it up, kids. They've not messed it up. It's still rad. Now let's go to the track.
The question is, can you feel any of these changes if you don't have an earlier car to drive back to back? And have they stepped on ST owners' feet by bringing this new car to market like they did with the original GT3 Touring and 911R? All right, so the Touring with Lichtbau is the streetiest version of the GT3. But now it's time for the big boy stuff. Porsche has got us a racetrack, and now it's time to use it. But first, the car. The Wing car fits right at home in this paddock. The wheels, the carbon bits, and the new front end really stand out to those who know, and some of these details mean one thing: Weissach pack. You really have to respect what Porsche has done to add to their car's performance without adding a huge amount of power. Now, this engine, 502 horsepower engine, makes only 9 more horsepower than the 4-liter Metzger engine made in the 2011 GT3 RS 4.0 14 years ago. But what has changed? Well, the car's gotten bigger, but not actually much heavier. And the car is massively more fuel efficient and environmentally friendly. And it's that last bit, the environment, that really matters, because as Europe, America, and Asia's environmental emission standards increase, Porsche has found new and innovative ways to keep the naturally aspirated, high-revving 500 horsepower flat six in action. It's something about these cars that we don't appreciate as much as we probably should. Keeping this engine on the road at this power level is hard. It's got suspension components either directly cribbed or heavily inspired by the GT3 RS, including aerodynamically formed control arms and revised front suspension geometry designed to reduce brake dive and improve balance on turn-in. But wait, there's more. Or actually, wait, there's less weight, because the GT3, for the first time ever, has the Weissach pack. You get a carbon wing, carbon roof, and carbon bonnet, the lightweight door cards from the GT3 RS, a lithium battery, and you've got these optional lightweight magnesium wheels that save 16 pounds by itself. All told, fully spec, Weissach with magnesium will save you 48 pounds over a standard GT3. Woo! Welcome to the track. I forget what this place is called, but it's dope. They race MotoGP here. Oh, it's Circuit Ricardo Tormo. That's what it's called. And Habibi, this is the GT3 Weissach. PDK gearbox on this one. It's got all the goods. Jörg Bergmeister, who we're gonna go chase. Here we go. We've got those Cup 2R tires humming here, and there's a lot of sort of pickup on the track, so you may hear some marbles going. Ceramic brakes, very, very nice. As we head out, this track is a beautiful, sort of flowy, smooth circuit. I really like it, and it shows off the GT3's talents. Now remember, the GT3 is first and foremost a track car, so here on the track, it really matters. And it's about how surgical you can be with the placement as well as the precision of the powertrain. How beautifully precise it is to use. And it's flexible. The best thing for me about the GT3 is it really meets you where you are. If you're kind of a novice, the GT3 isn't too much to work up to. And if you're a pro, it's still great fun. When the tires are cold, it defaults towards a mild understeer at the mid-corner. Now here, what we're gonna see at the end of this front straight is the braking balance. Woo! Standing on them, Porsche worked very hard there on the anti-dive, stuff they learned from the RS, giving the new GT3 a really good, stable stance when it comes to high-speed braking. So no tail wag there, just really straight and true, and I like that very much. You
can initiate a bit of rear end movement by flicking the steering wheel. And the combination of this steering feel and these bucket seats is quite good. All I need to do, wrong gear, all I need to do is steer with my fingers. This course has two very fast bends there, and the car stays beautifully planted through both. In terms of actual downforce, a number downforce, they say it's basically the same as the old car. They've just tried to improve the balance, especially as you're turning and as you're braking. I'll tell you what, they can talk about particulate filters and extra cats, but the bottom line is this car is still loud. They took out a bunch of sound deadening in here, so it's actually maybe even a little louder than before, although not quite as loud as the ST. That was 240K for those counting. Really good, stable through here. I mean, I really just love the communication of my hands and my feet to the tires. It all just brain, hands, feet, tire. So, you know what's great about this? The GT3 is the end of where Miatas begin. It is a momentum car. It doesn't have big torque. It's not a big hammer. It's a scalpel, right? And so you have to keep your momentum up, maximize your speed through every corner, because you don't have that shove. Yes, it has 500 horsepower, but it's not actually that much. What it is flexible and fizzy. It feels great all the time, in your hands, in your butt, in your ears. Hit the red line there. It's approachable. You can work your driving up to it. And watch this, end of the front straight, 235K, heavy brakes. And what they've really been working on with this new GT3 is the aero and suspension balance, particularly when it comes to anti-dive on heavy braking. They got a lot of these bits off the GT3 RS that really help the car stay straight and stay flat, which doesn't just keep the suspension, brakes, and tires working better, it keeps the aero working better. The new GT3 doesn't necessarily make any more downforce than the old car. It's just balanced better. You know, the days of that Widowmaker stuff are pretty long over, and this car has the ability to rotate a bit with a hard lift, or to take advantage of a light bit of understeery push, if that's what you want at the mid-corner. And there's the rotation. The engine is just so like fluid, smooth. There's just so few engines that are so happy to sit above 6 for so long, you know? Over these high-speed kinks, no problem. Such a treat. You're not, it's fast, but you're not paying for the speed. You're paying for the feel. You're paying for the communication between driver and car. I talk, it listens. It talks, I listen. we got a great thing going. Woo! Oof, all right. As we do our cool down lap. Oh, I'm reminded that I'm wearing the Porsche design chronograph that matches the Sport Chrono on the dash. That's 10K, and they'll match your car. That's pretty cool. You know, regarding touring versus wing car, Porsche claims the setups are the same except for the wing. So the suspension is not different on the touring, so they say. If that's the case, and I haven't driven the wing car on the road, I've only driven on the track, but if that's the case, then my guess would be many lessons from ST came to both of these cars. In any sense, you have a car that is more road usable than before. The softer suspension, the usable area behind the seats with the folding buckets, the emissions improvements, as well as the technology that comes in the car, even a little better on the road before. Obviously faster on the track. They have shaved time off on their Nürburgring time for Mr. Jörg Bergmeister, earning his paycheck over there in Zuffenhausen. What I come away from this is going, only Porsche, they're improving the cars in ways that other manufacturers are not considering really at all. The things that they think about to squeeze performance out of their cars. I mean, the cars are like 30 seconds faster around the Nürburgring without adding any power. I mean, that's engineering. I mean, other companies make other cars that go faster and faster and faster around the Nürburgring as well. But do they do it with the same amount of power? Not really, no. And that's fantastic. And, you know, I don't think I need a faster car or want a faster car than this. This is still the gold standard of engaging with machinery in the modern world.
I needed time to ponder this car versus the old one, so I flew back to LA and caught up with myself at the studio. There are a lot of improvements about the new GT3, from the ride to the refinement and the shorter gears to the steering consistency and just the general wonderfulness of the whole car being brought to a new level. That's all good stuff. Plus, the same or improved performance in a naturally aspirated configuration with this much reduction in emissions is very, very commendable and something that all car enthusiasts should embrace, not scoff at, because the government is overreaching. If we want gasoline-powered stick-shift cars, Porsche is doing everything they can to keep that formula alive by conforming to very strict regulations. Having said that, other regulations are maybe a reason to keep your current GT3. I got 4 letters for you, and they spell ADAS. All new 992.2 GT3s do have the full suite of European ADAS systems, even the stick-shift cars. And that means 2 button presses to disable them every time you start the car. They've done everything they can to make that first button easily findable on the dash. It's a real lever, and then you just have to turn off the configurations in the screen. But if you've got one that you don't have to do that, we might be looking at an era of very lasts. And as it turns out, naturally aspirated engines and manual transmissions are outlasting cars without ADAS, even at Porsche. Last and perhaps most importantly, can you feel the difference from the old car to the new car? I'm going to say, without driving them back to back, the difference is very subtle. You can feel the difference in the ride. You can feel the difference in the new bucket seats. You can feel the difference a little bit in the steering. You can feel the difference a little bit in the anti-dive under braking. But again, these are subtle, and below the limit, those differences get smaller and smaller. So if you happen to have the opportunity to drive both cars back to back in close proximity, can you feel the difference? I'm going to say yes. Outside of that scenario, the difference will probably be much harder to spot. In conclusion, if you have the current car, lucky you. Well done. You've mostly beaten life, and I applaud you. You're probably having a real good time as long as you're willing to put miles on it. Should you race to get the brand new one? Probably not. The one you've got is still pretty great. And if you'll probably never own a GT3, and that's a lot of us out there, because they are A, very, very expensive, and B, hard to get, fear not. The used ones are still pretty great. This is the 25th anniversary of the GT3. And as I walked down the line that Porsche had for us with every generation of GT3 on display, I determined that there was not a single bad car among them. So pick your GT3 and find a way to get one, because they are rad. Thank you to Porsche for having me in Spain for this test. Thanks to you guys for watching us year after year. This is the 15th year of The Smoking Tire, and welcome back to it. We'll see you next time.
And remember, always fight your tickets on the Off the Record app, available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.